everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us on this inaugural visit, online visit. So we're pleased to welcome you here, whether you're a member, a manufacturer, a dealer, manager. We're excited to have you with us today's roundtable. So my name, for those who don't know me, my name is Nelson Kwok. I'm a sales manager with LiftMaster. I'll be your moderator today, and I'd like to introduce you to the CDI's National Board of Directors. First and foremost is Mike Clecash of Canadian Doormaster. He's all the way over here in Burnaby, BC. Now, not everyone's here, but I'll mention the people that are not as well. So Kyle Hart of Canadian Doormaster, I believe he's probably winding a spring. Sean Baird, he's here. Sean Baird, he's currently in between, but our awesome overhead door consultant, hailing out of Ontario. Jason Lopez, I did not see him. He's outside of Vancouver here. He's from Overhead Door Company of Vancouver. Some directors we have here as well. Jason Lopez is our secretary treasurer. Some directors, Pete Lawrence, Pete's here, hailing out of Barrie, Ontario. Trevor Oak is here. I think I saw him, right? Oh yeah, there he is. And he's from Next Industrial in, I can't pronounce it, Etobicoke, Ontario.
That's it.
That's pretty good for Vancouver, right?
Yeah, not bad, huh? Mike Durbin, I didn't see him here, from Absolute Door Services in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. And I'm gonna desecrate this. Tony Untarini of JD Doors in Edmonton, Alberta. I don't believe I saw him here. Actually, he's not coming, right?
No.
So
Tony had a previous engagement.
Right. So this roundtable is intended for us to share learnings of what we've gained during the first couple months here of our COVID-19 pandemic. We've all experienced challenges, and each province has handled the crisis differently, leading to unique follow-on conditions for our industry and companies. As each province starts opening up, we want you to share what you see as long-term considerations for the door businesses, what's working, what's not, and what can be learned from our successes, and other members can apply to their operations. We welcome questions, suggestions, and discussion is obviously encouraged. But before we begin, I'd like to provide you a few suggestions, hints, as this might be the first webinar you have attended. So unlike one-way presentation webinars, this is a roundtable, so we want you to participate. We don't want you to just sit there in your corner and be a wallflower, although remotely. So I don't know how you guys have it set up, but the Zoom platform highlights the current speaker. But because Zoom will pick up every sound that everyone makes, we ask that you mute your microphone unless you're actually talking to the group, especially in noisy environments. When you're ready to speak, please use the raise hand button and I'll call on you. If you experience technical difficulties, send your problem through the chat option if you can. And Kimberly, our operations staff, who is also online with us, although quietly, will respond and will help get you set up. So CDI is planning to hold more webinars in the future, and we need your input to make them succeed. If you have thoughts or suggestions about the event, please take a moment to send an email, and we'll make sure you get that email address at the end of everything. This event is being recorded to be posted on the CDI website. A link to the recording of the webinar will be shared shortly. And finally, we plan to hold this year's AGM on Zoom. So please keep an eye out for an email announcement will be sent out over the summer. Okay, any questions so far? No, pretty quiet group. All right.
One question. Explain again how to use the raised hand icon. I was trying to find it. Like, I thought it was under reactions, but I don't get it there.
You can use reactions, but the one that you want to hit is the participants button.
Okay.
On the bottom left there, and then that says raise hand there, so I'll raise my hand. I don't know if you guys can see it, but my hand's raised.
Okay.
Then I can lower it. Okay. Right. So I guess to start off, what all the dealers I've chatted with are doing different things to ensure their technician and employee safety. So what's everyone doing there? I'll use an example. One of my clients, they are using they're making sure all their techs have non-medical masks of some sort. They're either buying cloth ones or providing disposable. They're providing gloves for everyone. They also, in some instances, they're providing some pylons and some safety tape, the yellow caution tape, to make sure that their area isn't infringed upon, to maintain that social distancing. What's everyone doing in that application, and what's working for them and what's not? Mike, go ahead.
So in our province, there are protocols that are required, the social distancing, et cetera, et cetera. So as a company policy, we follow all the protocols that are in place in our province. In addition to that, what we do is we make sure that we let customers know that we are required to follow those same procedures, and we want to be able to do that on their job sites. Some customers are very lax, and what we want to be able to do is keep our people safe. So we make sure that they understand that we're following these real rules, and we expect them to do it as well. Some customers, larger organizations, have a whole onboarding procedure, and there's things that you have to do before you can go into that job site. So they are the protocols that are in place in the province of British Columbia, plus a number of other protocols that are specific to that particular customer. We've sat down at the very beginning of this and talked to our employees about the importance of engaging in this behavior and why it's been put in place and what the expectations of them are going forward. It's part of who we are as a profession, and it reflects badly on our company if we don't follow these protocols strictly. It brings a measure of confidence to customers, and they believe that they're dealing with a professional company when this occurs. And sort of the last thing that we do before we dispatch a truck is our dispatcher has that conversation with the customer, letting them know that this is what's going on. So it brings a measure of confidence and safety to our employees and staff, and also that same professionalism is displayed to customers, that we have a certain protocol or standards that we're meeting, and any additional standards we're happy to meet based on them. And we've had a very good response to that. All our guys have a kit that we put on every single truck that includes sanitizers and masks and gloves and disinfectant wipes, etc. And they're to wipe down the interiors of their trucks and handles and things like that, and wipe their hands. And they've talked about the things that help spread the virus and things that help reduce viral spread, and they've been very good about it. So there's a measure of confidence in employees, a measure of confidence that's displayed to customers, and we have no sickness. Nobody in our company has tested positive, so we're in pretty good shape.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else?
I did do the raise hand button. I don't know if it worked. Do you see it there?
I did see it.
I'll just add to that a little bit. It's been a we haven't had any sicknesses either. We have our technicians out there, and all the various scenarios we all do. But it's like anything, you need to be repetitive right now. The technicians have been out there for a while, a lot longer than the sales guys even, or the office admin staff. And I've had to put lines down in the office just to visually remind people not to step close or come into offices. And it might be just me, but I have a couple close talkers in my office, so I got to visually remind them. But that works. And the biggest thing is documenting everything. One is, I say, to protect the company and show that you are doing your due diligence and making sure you're, you've stepped up and you're following protocols and rules. And we have, the Ministry of Health Ontario and so forth that we're abiding by, let alone the federal government. But when it comes to the technicians, it's reminding them too. We have all the protocols, all the PPE and safety steps put into place, but even a weekly reminder to some of them. We haven't had any complaints from customers either, which has been great. We're following what they say and do. But you see things slip. Even this morning when I was in there first thing, and I had a couple guys, at the counter, and all of a sudden they're side by side, not even noticing they're writing up paperwork beside each other. So, and there is a line there too. But you need to remind them. People aren't used to it yet. And that's seems to be the only issue now is just, they get a little lax, and I think people have out there in everybody's backyard. We've seen the news, but it's being repetitive. Don't give up on that.
Well, if you were the town, you'd send 2 trucks.
Thanks, Trevor. Anyone else have any input on how people are keeping your techs and not just your tech, but your office people safe? Is those that have a safety officer, perhaps, are they involved in any enforcement or guidance, anything like that?
I don't know how to raise my hand, but can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I tried to do it, I couldn't do it. So one thing that happened to us on a job site was interesting a couple of days ago when it comes to what you're talking about, Nelson, regarding our health and safety officer that we outsourced to, is he encouraged us to have policies and procedures written into our program, like our health and safety program, specifically for the COVID. And we were actually asked for it on site by an inspector. So he wasn't going to fine people, but I think it's going to get to the point where if you don't have something that's actually in your procedures, it's great to tell the guys, but if you don't write it into your new health and safety procedures, policies, and inform your guys and give them the equipment to do it, then I think that you're going to see fines coming out. So
That's a really good point. As far as I understand, COVID-19 is here to stay until a vaccine is developed, and that might be 18 to 24 months from now. And having,
Or never.
Or never. And
Yep.
So having that policy written in our manuals is a very prudent move. I think that might be something that we all have to look at for our respective positions, industries.
For any infectious pandemic, not just COVID-19, if you're going to do it, you'd be writing one up every time.
So I'm sorry, is that Jim? Okay, sorry, I heard something, but I couldn't quite tell.
Very quiet.
Yeah, very quiet, right? Okay, well, any further input? Go ahead, Mike.
One of the things that we also do, and we've done this before, is we have a lot of people that are not coming into the office anymore. They're working from home or they're working from elsewhere. And it's been easy for us because we've had that capability for a long time because our phone systems are VoIP, so you can just take a phone from the office, take it home, plug it in, and it's like you're in the office. I've done it every once in a while when I have to do something else, or if I'm off sick, I can work from home, and I find that I'm way more productive at home because I'm not constantly interrupted. But I have a feeling that this is something that people are going to be doing when they structure businesses going forward, recognizing that we spend a lot of time getting to and from work, and we spend a lot of time being interrupted or multitasked at work. If we can focus people in an environment that we're not paying for, a desk at somebody's home, it's cost saving, and I think it's good for productivity. I do miss talking to people because I tend to wander around the offices and sort of check in with people each day and find out how they're doing and find out if there's anything they need help with, etc. But it works. I mean, you get used to talking to them on the phone as opposed to walking over to their office and having a chat with them. But I mean, we have maybe 3 or 4 people in our offices max at any one time. And we have people that are rotating through the office, working from home for 3 days a week and coming into the office maybe 2 days a week for half a day. It's worked out really, really well. It's you don't really notice the difference other than the fact that you're not constantly surrounded by people.
Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely. You know, it's pretty clear that companies that at one point claimed that they didn't have the ability to remote work, they're doing it now. And I think they'll likely expand on it. And some large companies, Twitter, Facebook, some those online companies, they're telling, or they're saying anyways publicly, that yeah, their employees can continue to work at home, and it's probably going to be that way for the foreseeable future. So yeah, absolutely. I see Peter's hand up.
Yeah, this is just a question, and I don't know that it's happening yet, but I was wondering if any companies are tracing where all of their employees are going all day, I guess, so that there's contact tracing, so that if it is found to have happened somewhere, you'll know that one of your employees have been there. Just a question.
Well, I got to think that everyone has their schedule, of their technician's schedule, and you have to know where that person is, not every minute of the day, but have an idea of, like, if they went to ABC Foods and then went to, you know, Nelson's mechanic shop later to change a spring and so on and so forth. So I have to think that everyone has those records. And if they don't, it would make a lot of sense today to start tracking. At the restaurants here in Vancouver, if you want to sit down and eat, they're going to take your name and their phone number from someone on that table, and they're going to keep that for 30 days. So if there's any interaction, like if anyone at that restaurant became sick, then they can pull those records and find out how many people they have to call and suggest to those people to isolate for 14 days, right? So it would make a lot of sense for us that are dispatching our technicians to keep track of that, and hopefully none of us get sick, our technicians get sick, but they are not within that they won't pick anything up, but in case, it's not a bad idea. Mike?
Given the nature of what our technicians do, I think the greater risk would be after hours, because generally speaking, when you're working on a job site, you have cordoned off your area in any event, and you don't have a lot of really close contact with a lot of people in the facility. You may have at some point during the day close contact with a technician that you're working with. But the guys are pretty good. They forget sometimes, they get a little close, like Trevor had said, but you have to remind them every once in a while. I know that they're talking about contact tracing via GPS app, and there's a lot of pushback in North America. I think they're probably doing, I know they're doing it in China. I imagine they're doing it in some other of the other countries, but there's a fairly big pushback in North America in any event, any kind of, I guess it would be overt tracing of your every move. So I'm not sure whether or not it would work, and whether or not it would help. Is if you're doing your due diligence and setting up a job site so that people are safe, and if your technicians are respecting the distances, and so that no virus is transmitted, I'm not sure that adding contact tracing to somebody in the office's job would be worthwhile long-term.
Yeah, I agree. But nothing stops us from saying, okay, this is where John Tech has been Monday, and Tuesday, this is where he's been, and Wednesday, this is where he's been, so on and so forth. But I think in this situation is more, the more information we have, the better, especially where the technician's been, right? So, but I got to think that we, for the most part, we're dispatching them and we're telling them where to go, and we have a general list of where they've been. So I don't know if anyone's taking any further steps to get more information, maybe a time and stuff. Okay, Mike.
Sorry, we have refused jobs. We were called to a extended care facility where they had an active outbreak to service some fire doors inside the facility, and we just said, no, we can't do it. So we are not on purpose putting our guys at risk in situations like that where the risk now is very much elevated. If I'm in a facility and if I'm in a warehouse and I'm 30 feet from anybody else, the chance is zero that I'm going to pick up virus from somebody there. It's not like the virus is lurking in the air and we're all subject to inhaling that virus. You have to get it from another human being, and you got to share bodily fluids to do that. So, but being actively not putting people in harm's way is part of what we do as well.
Right. Okay. We'll move along here. So the governments have provided a significant amount of assistance if you chose to take it. And I've researched 3 of them that seem to apply to, like 3 federal ones. There may be provincial ones that would apply to you. So I'm just wondering if anyone's taken advantage of these subsidies / loans. You know, we can go over them really quickly if that interests you all. Let me know what you think about those. I think there's not a lot of people here, so you can just shout out if you need to. No hands necessarily need to be up.
When this first started, I talked to some other people who were looking for advice, not in our industry, but in other industries. And my advice was, if there is something out there that will help your business, if there is a subsidy, if there is a low interest or no interest loan, of which part would be forgivable, my advice was access all you possibly can. And that's what we've done in this company. Because in business, what you try to do is you try to maintain your advantage. I think that we're all going to be paying for these subsidies that have been unleashed over the last 2 months. We're all going to be paying for it for the next 5 years through taxes in any event. It's like insurance in any. It's like insurance. You buy insurance in the eventuality something horrible happens, it doesn't decimate you. But my advice to everyone, and my daughter works in Edmonton now, and my son-in-law has an engineering firm, was to take advantage of all those options. And I think that at some point in time, we're all going to emerge from this. And what we want to be is in the best possible position to take advantage of the work that will come our way 3 months from now, 6 months from now, whatever. Because the reality is the world does not shut down. We have to go out there and produce value every day, or we're going to start running out of things. We're going to run out of consumer goods. We're going to run out of food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have to produce. We're structured to do that as a society. We have to stay in business. So we've got to figure it out. We have to keep our businesses strong. So anything that we can access that will help us keep our businesses strong in the near term, it's a wise thing to do. So wage subsidies, whether you qualify for a 10% or a 75%, the forgivable loans, 75, you pay back 75% and you retain 25%. I think they're $40,000 loans. If you can qualify for that, I think you're wise to do it.
Yeah, there's the Canadian Emergency Business Account, which is that 40,000 that you mentioned, to cover operating costs. And if you repay by end of 2022, so you get a little over 2.5 years to pay that back, you get a forgiveness of up to 25%. So, $10,000, that's $10,000 free money that you could use. If you rent a facility, there's it's called CERA, Canadian Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance. And basically you talk to your landlord applies for it, and you pay, I think the landlord pays 25%, the tenant pays 25%, and then the government pays 50%. And that's a subsidy. So that's not a, hey, I got to pay that back. And then of course, what I think most people are doing that 75% of employee wages. So you pay 25%, and CEWS, Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy, pays 75% up to $845 per week. So that's $3,200 a month, which is, that's pretty good money there that the government's willing to subsidize to keep you guys going. So definitely, so we'll be sending out little excerpts of those three in a short little while after our conference is over here.
There's a Canada.ca, that website, and they update it all the time. It explains all the programs. There's also a 10% wage subsidy if you don't meet the requirements of taking the 75%. There's a 10% wage subsidy if your sales drop off a little bit. I mean, every dollar helps. Every dollar helps. And honestly, you don't want to start laying employees off because you're going to lose them, especially your core people. Without your people, you're not a business anymore. So any kind of wage subsidy that keeps people coming into work and working. And this is a really good opportunity to take care of those projects that you didn't have time before. So if you don't have work for your technicians one day, they can help rearrange, how you do things in your warehouse, or if there's special projects that you need done. We're looking at updating some of the software, the way we manage our business, and employing students that wouldn't be available in normal times to come in and do some software programming for us. So there's lots of opportunities out there, and it's just you're taking advantage of a situation to make yourself stronger to move forward.
Any comments? Quite a bunch. I see some smiling then. No, that's good. That's good. Kimberly is going to send out a little, I guess, I put together a little resource snippet of what's I think is applicable. By all means, this is just a guidelines. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a business owner. But I just read through some information, did a little bit of research that we hopefully, if you can, take advantage of some of these subsidies / loans that are available to you. My neighbor is a contractor, a general contractor, and he initially laid off a couple people, 2 or 3 of his employees, but he ended up hiring them back with the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidies, and much to Mike's point, he wanted to rearrange his warehouse a little bit and reconfigure some of the shelving and stuff. So he was able to do that, and with a bit of the slowdown, but now he's picked right back up again. And so he's doing pretty well in that aspect. He told me he got a lot of information from his local board of trade. So in our neck of the woods, we're in Burnaby, and he gets emails almost weekly on I guess ways that they can get assistance. He can get assistance. The company can get assistance. So if you haven't hooked up with your local board of trade, whether that be probably your municipal one, it's a good idea to reach out to them and get on a mailing list of some sort, and they'll send lots of information your way. So if you haven't, I think that's a really good way of getting some of that info. He was alerted to that wage subsidy from the Burnaby Board of Trade. So it's something, a resource that they're there to help you. So make sure you use them.
I have one point to make on the wage subsidy.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. You have to claim the 10% subsidy, and then you have to take that off of the 75%. And you get the 10% by reducing your employee deductions of income tax. That's how that is done.
Okay, thank you. I haven't done it. Has anyone else applied for it?
Yeah, if you can't make the threshold for the 75%, you can make the threshold for the 10%. The 7% or the 75% is paid back through your CRA account. The 10%, you just don't remit your source deductions to the amount that's owed to you.
But you have to take that 10% off the 75%.
You can't claim both of them. It's one or the other.
Well, no, you have to claim the 10 and then take it off the 75. You can't just take it all off at the 75, was my interpretation of it.
Well, they're different. They are different subsidies. 10% is available for people that haven't had the drop in business that the 75% wage subsidy allows for. But if you're going to apply for the 75%, you can't apply for 75 plus 10. It's either or.
No, but you have to apply for the 10, and then you have to take that 10 off the 75. You can't just say, I'm not going to be bothered with the 10, I'll just do the 75. You have to do the 10, and then you have to take that 10 off the 75, was my interpretation of it.
Well, the difference between apart from the amounts, the difference between the two subsidies is how they're paid. The 10%, right. you hold back your source deductions up to that 10% point. The 75% is paid to you from the government through your CRA account. So if you have an online CRA account, it's almost instantaneous. So it works really, really well.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
If you go to canada.ca and you read through what the qualifications for the two programs are, people were thinking that they could claim the 10% and the 75%. You can't. So if you claim 10% and then you go to claim the 75, you can only claim 65. The total you can claim is 75% subsidy. But your total. But what people do is they either or. That's my understanding, and that's what we've done. In months that are slow but not slow enough, we've claimed 10. In a month when we take a huge hit, we've claimed the 75, and we've been paid out on both, and they work really, really well for us.
So I'm just reading. For employers that are eligible for both the Canadian emergency wage subsidy and the temporary 10% wage subsidy for a period, any benefit from the temporary 10% wage subsidy for remuneration paid in a specific period will generally reduce the amount available to be claimed under the Canadian emergency wage subsidy. So if you apply for both, basically they're saying that because you already got the 10%, you're not available for up to all of the 75% of the $847 per week for eligible employers. So
the maximum you can claim is 75%.
Right.
The maximum you can claim. But they have you apply it to certain pay periods. They've made up the pay periods, and it's not necessarily coincidental with our pay period. So you have to sort of look at the pay periods. Then you look at what your sales were in that pay period or compared to last year. You go through the calculations. Not that onerous, but it certainly worked for us. I mean, we had a tough month, and we claimed the 75, and boy, it was there right away, and it really helped us out.
I've been told that it's retroactive. So if you've had if you haven't, and April, May, June, and it's upcoming to June here pretty quick. So if you're not on it, I suggest you do it. But I think you have to show that your sales and billing isn't as robust as it was from a certain time period last year.
Yeah, you compare the same time period this year to last year, and you calculate what your drop in sales were. There are some underlying things that you can do. There are people that don't have that kind of history. There are new businesses that may have been only around for maybe 6 months. So the calculation becomes a little more difficult. But the reality is what they're trying to do is keep people in business. And this is our tax dollars, or will be our tax dollars at work. So businesses that don't take advantage of this thing are doing themselves a disservice. I think you're wise to do this. You're wise to help subsidize your business so that you'll be here tomorrow, next week, and next year, because we're all paying for it anyways.
Right, I agree. You take advantage of it. I know. Obviously you don't have to take advantage of it, meaning that I have dealers that their sales are actually better than it was last year. Then you wouldn't be able to get the subsidy. But I definitely know of quite a few dealers that have laid people off. And if you had to do that, definitely I would look, and you haven't applied for this already, I think you really should. So like Mike says, I think you'd be doing a big disservice to yourself if you and your company if you don't. Okay. Anything else?
I have just a comment. This format in general, we've all probably used Zoom or other conferencing programs like this a lot more now than we have ever in the past. And given the scope of our organization, it's a national organization. Canada is a very big country. The opportunities to talk to people, face to face like we are now are very few. I've always liked national AGMs, annual general meetings, and national trade shows, because you actually meet people and have conversations with them. The technology is new, and sometimes it's a little bit comfortable because people want to listen, and that's fine. But I think there's opportunities for us to stay in touch and talk about things that will help us manage or run our businesses better, or challenges that we need some help with, because we're all members in the same organization. We're all in the same industry. We all approach problems probably very similarly, or maybe there are different ways that we deal with things that would be beneficial to other members of our organization. So I think that I would like to be able to see this happen over and over again, that we come up with things that we want to talk about, or members have challenges that they'd like to know what other people are doing. And for me, I like this ability to see the people that we're talking to, and I think it's a good thing for us to do going forward. And I'd like other people's comments on whether this is something you'd like to do maybe once a month or once every 6 months, or when there's something that you think we need to talk about, if this is a good format.
I think it is, Mike. I really like it. I mean, I've been using it a ton, as you mentioned. That's all we've been doing Clopay now for a few months, it seems. It's just so much better to be able to see inflection and people's sort of body language and just interact in a real meaningful way. I know we're going to have our board meetings going forward this way, and that's a no-brainer, obviously. But for the greater population of the CDI members, I think it's a fantastic thing as well. I think we should continue.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what Pete was saying, I think this is something that everybody, as far as dealers, can embrace. We're living in a new world right now. You know, things have changed. We don't know when it's going to be back to exactly the same as how it was. It may never be exactly the same as what it was, but I think if we can take the opportunity to embrace new ways of doing business that we've been talking about on this call, but especially something like this, to interact with your customers, especially those residential customers that have all gone away for the most part, that will hopefully all be coming back to us shortly as things begin to slowly reopen. I think we're crazy if we don't all, as business owners, try to embrace something like this. I mean, this Zoom call that we're on, Zoom is free. You just download it to your computer and set up an account, and it's free. There's obviously pro versions that you can get, like this one that the CDI is on, but just setting yourself apart and being able to have that face-to-face interaction that Pete was mentioning with your homeowners, I think will go a long way in the future as we try to get back and try and recoup some of this residential business that's gone away so quickly, especially here in the East.
I believe that online is the future. Like I was saying earlier, big companies are telling people to stay home permanently, and phone is great, but having a face and seeing what's happening is better. And the fact that like it's easy to set it up and get people interacting on virtually, and everyone's got a laptop or a computer or a tablet or a phone that they can participate with. And I think that's it's just as time goes by and technology progresses, it's getting easier for us to make this world a little smaller, albeit virtually.
I marvel at how technology has changed, and I remember when cell phones first came out and I was lugging around extra batteries, and you're doing this and you're going here to try to get service. And then they brought out cell phones that you could take a picture of. And I remember saying, why the hell would you want to take a picture with your cell phone? Right up until the first time a technician texted me a picture of a problem on a job site and went, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I'm not the smartest guy out there, but boy, technology has really changed the way we do business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other input for any topic, CDI, or when we're talking about COVID?
We will all get through this. Life will go on. It'll be different, but we'll all get through this, and there are better days ahead. We had a barbecue last weekend, and my daughters and their husbands came over, and we sat around a large table we have out on our deck. And I was sitting there watching everybody talk, and we're sharing a meal, and I thought, this is just like it was last summer. It was a little bit different, but it felt really good to have those people around, and we were respecting our distances, but we were still reacting as a family and getting together as a family. I miss shaking people's hands. I have the hardest time when I go meet somebody that you have to have a conversation with, whether it be about a problem on a job or about a quotation that you're doing or looking at some work. I miss that shaking their hands and getting close to them and talking to them. But I'm getting used to now stepping back a little bit and figuring out ways of making that connection with somebody that you want to work with in the future. So that's still there, and we'll sort it all out. And as anxiety filled as we all were 2 months ago, we were looking at this with different eyes. And quite frankly, we're going to survive. Life's going to be a little bit different, but life is going to be good still. And we all have good businesses to run, and what we do in this world is pretty important. The door industry is a pretty important industry, and we're all part of that very important industry.
Agreed. Okay, well, if that's it, give you a little bit of time back. I know we had it booked for an hour, but and it's 7:02. So I think that's going to be it for us. Any other comments? Otherwise, I'll say adios for now and stay safe, be well. And
Thanks for doing this, Nelson. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nelson.
So, thank you.
Everyone.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.